everyone, and welcome back to Reviews for Adults. My name is Ali, and today we're going to be talking about part 2 of Euphoria's special episode, Jules, or Fuck Anyone Who's Not a Sea Blob. One more time. Now, before we get into this episode, let's talk about episode part 1 briefly. That episode was focused on Rue's experience after the events of the last season. In that episode, we encounter Rue as she has relapsed and is meeting with her sponsor, Ali. Now, this episode has one of the best speeches written for television ever. It is so good, I had to write a little review of that, which you can find in the link below. Now, I believe that is, just some of the fiercest, boldest television writing. And it's very close to, the texture of the speech is very close to a speech that we saw in season 1 of American Gods. Now, of course, that show has totally gone off the rails, but we're not here to talk about American Gods today. Sam Levinson's writing is what we're here to talk about today. It is so good. And it really shines through in this second special episode. Now, this is co-written by Hunter Schafer, who plays Jules in the show. It is so fresh. It is extremely authentic. It is so deep. Euphoria special episode part 2 focuses on Jules' recollections after the events of the last season. It takes place during the entirety of the length of a single therapy session, and in this setting actually prompts the episode to be almost told in a non-linear way, and really goes through the logic of memories as you try and follow one line of thought as you reflect on what it is that brought you to see a therapist in the first place. So the team does a very, very good job of not only with the writing, which is phenomenal, but the way in which the episode is shot. It's not straightforwardly representative of the words that are being spoken, but if they found a very beautiful way of representing the meaning of the words. Okay, so the writing, wow, so amazing. Let's start with what I believe to be the highlight of this episode, for me at least, was the very first opening lines of Jules' monologue as she's talking to her therapist, in which she recollects about what she believes femininity to be, what she believes womanhood to be. In these lines, she speaks of having spent the majority of her life trying to construct this woman or feminine identity from almost as a collage, and forming this identity for or in relation to what she thought men wanted to see or men would be attracted to. And she's considering going off her hormones as a reaction to feeling that, not only understanding that femininity in this way is for men, it's for the male gaze, but also that she at one point says that the way that men want things is so uncreative, right? So anyway, the reason I found this to be so exciting was because she describes femininity as almost as a mask, right? That she doesn't feel is authentic, or that she feels like she's a fraud. And I actually think that this is precisely the way that femininity works. That this is exactly the way that what defines womanhood in terms of sexuality, how it functions for everybody, for every woman, not just for the experience of a trans woman, but for every woman. So I was very excited to hear these words come out of this character, because specifically this line of thought is so contentious today, especially in the conversations around feminism and what constitutes a woman, I guess. So it's, again, we see another great example of bold writing, of unflinching themes, and it works so well. It's so beautiful. Actually, this also follows throughout the entirety of the episode and her conversation with her therapist. Sometimes she'll say something close or akin to, I don't feel like, or I feel like the real world is such a letdown. And then she launches into her thoughts on why the relationship that she had with Nate in season 1, who was actually not genuine himself with Jules, who presented himself as, Shy Boy 118 was his handle, and or Tyler. So he was lying to Jules all along about who he was, but still having this hypersexual relationship with her. And Jules talks to her therapist about what made that relationship, or that sexual relationship, so satisfying. And her answer is that it was imaginary. But this is exactly at the level that sexuality functions in, especially when it comes to sexual fantasy, right? Like, that's what makes sex so satisfying, is that it belongs and is sustained by this fantasy, by this dimension of what is imaginary. So this obviously plays a role in informing her idea of her feminine identity. And I think that this is just an example of what is so good about Euphoria, is that it's such good writing for today's audiences. I mean, I think we're really starving for good content, and this is an example of great content. It's also visually so beautiful. It's so cinematic. It really feels like you're watching a film, not like you're watching a TV show. I mean, and this is even something that we see in season 1. Every single episode is just so beautiful, so tonally, so aesthetically gorgeous. To read more about Euphoria Special Episode Part 1 or Special Episode Part 2, you can follow the link below to reviewsforadults.com. You can also watch another video while you're here. And thank you very much for watching. My name's Ali for Reviews for Adults.